Every day, it just gets more and more astonishing. Has Elon Musk and his DOGE team just uncovered the biggest fraud ever in Social Security? Hello, everyone. Dr. Chris Martinson here of Peak Prosperity, and we're going to be talking about Elon Musk and his DOGE team and what they just found in Social Security, and it is astonishing. This could be the most epic corruption we've ever seen. It's truly unbelievable, right? It's jaw-droppingly astonishing to the point where my jaw is slack and words don't actually come out appropriately. Here's the data, courtesy of Elon Musk. He says, according to the Social Security database, there are numbers of people in each age bucket with the death field set to false, so they're not dead. And he says, maybe Twilight is real and there are a lot of vampires collecting Social Security, laugh, laugh, because these are the data buckets. And you can clearly see here, let me get my drawing tool out. Let's use a highlighter. You can clearly see here the number of people whose death field is set to false who are over the age of 110 is 3.6 million from 110 to 120, and 3.4 million and 3.9 million people are supposed to be 130 to 39, and 140-year-olds and 150-year-olds and all that. And of course, we just want to know who these people are because we'd like to party with them, those 240 to 370-year-old people. It's just astonishing that we have a database like this. And it's really, maybe it's as bad as it seems. Maybe it's not as bad as it seems. But one thing is for sure, wow, this is really not a good look. And look, all it took was for one honest team to peek in and discover that the Social Security system, and I'm using that term very loosely here, has 394,943,364 people in it whose date of death has been set to false out of a population of 334 million. Obviously not a good look. Now this is quite a feat on a number of levels. First, there are allegedly nearly 16 million people alive in this database who are over 110 years or older. And like I said, 2 of them are 240 years or even older than that. Second, there are many more people in the database than there are people in the U.S. Census count by more than 60 million, almost 61 million. And that's quite the thing. Now, how can there be far more eligible Social Security numbers in the U.S. than there are people? It speaks to the possibility that this is one of the greatest frauds ever seen. Now, it's also possible this is just a bad database and they've just never taken the time to fix it, right? So there might be somebody in there who's recorded in the system who died 80 years ago, and it's no big deal. Now, this could be the biggest fraud ever, but, well, DOGE hasn't quite gotten to the Department of Defense yet, so it could be in the running. All right. Now, after a little bit of digging into this, it turns out the Social Security system, the database, it's just a hot mess, gigantic hot mess, confirming for me the idea that the only thing the government really does well is doing things poorly. And I have no idea how much money or fraud is in here yet. I don't know yet. So we're going to have to dig into this just a little bit. However, when we turn here, we see that a Justin Wolfer said when this data first came out, said you don't need to be a coder to figure this out. Simply type tab age. You'll discover a smattering of 99-year-olds, a few 100-year-olds, a couple of 101-year-olds, a pile up of 150-year-olds, but no one in their 130s or 40s, a clear sign you've discovered a coding issue, because Toshi down here said, looks like Elon's genius coders don't know how COBOL, the coding language, works. Social Security runs on COBOL, which does not use a date or time type. So the date is stored as a number using some jargon there. The epoch for this is 150 years ago. So COBOL will default to 150 years if it doesn't have a date in there. That's what they say. Oh, no biggie. However, look at the table again. It's not like we have a bunch of people coming up to a certain age and then a big blank and then only people at 150. This turned out to be a really stupid explanation. In fact, turned out to be wrong. Okay. Now, you would think, okay, well, Justin Wolfers was wrong about this, so he's probably fixed that somehow and come back. But instead, what he did was he said, oh, well, actually, this isn't high-tech data science. He says, looking at a histogram, First thing you do when looking at a new data set, we teach it in high school, and Data Republican, who's just been knocking it out of the park, said, oh, sure, because it makes perfect sense to allow missing birth dates in a system entirely based on birth dates. Clearly, it's just a harmless coding error, not, a gaping loophole ripe for fraud. Justin Wolfers, we're going to note here, is a professor at University of Michigan, econ professor, senior fellow at the Brookings Institute, and intro econ textbook author, Think Like an Economist podcast. I'm not so sure that I would want to be taught by this guy, because he just goes on from that. And that didn't work out because it turned out the histogram didn't support his view on February 15th. So then he said on February 17th, Elon pointed out there are far more eligible Social Security numbers than there are citizens in the U.S. Might be the biggest fraud in history. And Justin, there again to try and bat cleanup for team fraud and corruption, trying to explain all this away, explains it by saying, quote, undocumented workers often use made-up Social Security numbers. They're paying into the system, but without a legitimate Social Security number, they can't take anything out. So these folks are subsidizing Social Security for natives. He's just saying, look, these illegal people, they're just trying to, square things up. They're just trying to make things better again. As Robert Murphy said, for those dizzy at home trying to follow all this kerfuffle here, turns out the whole COBOL means all of Elon's 150-year-olds are really legit entries with no DOB argument went out the window. The new argument is that millions of fake Social Security numbers assigned to illegal immigrants is just further proof how dumb MAGA is, end quote. Perfect, Robert. You captured that just right. And that's really, yeah. I don't understand these people who, instead of saying, wow, government, we finally all can see that the government is really corrupt. Corrupt in the, you might think corrupt has one meaning, which is fraud. It does. But it also could just mean corrupt as in rotting, as in the corruption of the body. It means that something is come off of its original form and is no longer up to task. It's rotted. It's corrupt. Okay. So I don't understand these people who are busy trying to explain away, minimize, or otherwise take the side that this corruption isn't that bad. This is bad. We have a database that's supposed to be administering the biggest social entitlement program on the planet, and it doesn't do date fields correctly? How is that not fixed by this point in time? I don't know. But as I said, wait till they get into the DOD. And DOGE on February 14th said, looking forward to working together with the DOD. We'll figure this out. And how about this person? Jeff Hansen said, $1 trillion government program runs on archaic computer code that doesn't even require a valid date of birth on records completely reliant on a date of birth is not the flex you think it is, Justin Wolfers. So, look, I have no idea how much money fraud there is in the system, how many checks are being sent either A, to people who are dead or were never alive in the first place, or B, to illegal aliens who submitted for Social Security payments. I don't know that, but we are going to get right back to that in just a second. Before I get into how all of this might not be as bad as it looks, just going to take a quick break. You know what? Gold and silver are my top choices to protect my wealth against inflation and economic instability. Now, with all the monetary debasement and all these geopolitical risks going on, hedging your wealth has never been more important. I recommend that everybody own some gold and silver, physical, in your hot little hands. But what if you want to hold it elsewhere? Goldcore is an excellent choice and will rapidly and securely deliver physical gold and silver to your doorstep. But Goldcore also lets you buy and store your gold and silver in high security vaults in places like Switzerland or Singapore or the US at your choice. And for all of my followers, Goldcore will provide your first 6 months of storage for free. With Goldcore, you get the convenience of buying and selling precious metals as easily as stocks, but with the security of your metals being fully allocated and segregated, meaning they sit in a secure location, on a shelf, in a box, with your name and your name only on it. Now, unlike your stocks, where you are actually a subordinated security entitlement claimant, something we learned during our Great Taking series, you are the one and only named owner of your metals. But just like stocks, you can still sell your metals instantly at market prices without any unnecessary delays. Need liquidity? Goldcore gives you immediate access to cash. But if you prefer physical delivery, getting them shipped to you is a mouse click away. Goldcore offers a range of investment options from gold and silver coins and bars to self-directed IRAs, again, all with fully segregated and secure storage. Take control of your financial future today with Goldcore, where investing in precious metals has never been easier, more secure, or more transparent. Remember, Peak Prosperity followers get 6 months of free storage. So sign up now at peak.fan/goldcore to secure your 6 months of free storage. Again, that's peak.fan/goldcore. Okay, and welcome back. Now let's turn to this. Let's see how this might not be as bad as we thought. Now, here's an interesting but a very vague report out of the Office of the Inspector General. And this is an audit report. It was conducted in 2023, July of 2023, and it says number holders age 100 or older who did not have death information on the Numident. What the heck is a Numident? I didn't know. I had to look it up. Numident refers to the Social Security Administration's computer database file containing an abstract of information from a person's Social Security number application, Form SS-5, including their name, date of birth, other details, essentially acting as a record of all Social Security numbers issued since 1936. So Numident is short for Numerical Identification System. Okay, that makes sense. So when we say here, what do we do with people aged 100 or older who do not have information on the Numident? They're not in the system. Okay. Now, according to this dense report right here, it turns out they say, well, out of 18.4 million number holders, 98% of them are not currently receiving Social Security payments. Oh, that's good. 98% of those people over the age of 100 are not receiving Social Security payments. Whew. Now, what's crazy about this report is that they left a lot out of here. They didn't tell us how much we're being paid, so we have to run the calculation ourselves. Okay, 2% of 18.4 million turns out to be about 400,000 people being sent checks who are over 100 years of age against a Census Department estimate of about just under 90,000 living people over the age of 100. So that's not quite as cheery as the 98% figure makes it sound, right? That's about $5 billion of inappropriate payments each year to people who either are dead or never existed in the first place. Again, I have no idea the scale of the problem when extended to live people as well, who also shouldn't be getting paid either. But it turns out that Justin Wolfers, again, that econ professor at UMich, he's a heavy Democrat partisan, we should point out here. He wants you to know, of course, that it turns out that, even if all those excess payments were being paid to illegal aliens, it's okay. It's okay because they were paying in. But here he is in August of 24 saying Trump's going to make up policy on the fly and he doesn't have a remotely competent econ team. No serious Republican economist will work with him. And as well, in August of 29th of 24, he said, this is what happens when you submit the policy proposals of both candidates to similar scrutiny. And trying to make a dunk here that, Harris is going to be much better for budget deficits than Trump. Pro tip, don't pay to send your kids to University of Michigan. Just don't. You're going to have to spend more money trying to get them deprogrammed from this kind of garbage right here. So obviously, we have people here trying to dunk on Trump and all this. But look, how do you do this? This is very simple, Justin Wolfers, and everybody who thinks like you right now. You're on the wrong side of this. Full stop. This is corruption. And corruption meaning both it could be fraud, but also just it's a rotted corpse of a system that's decaying rapidly. It's just not. How do we not say, wow, thank you for unearthing this and bringing this to our attention? We should fix this, right? All right. Now, all Justin Wolf has convinced me of so far is that, again, nobody should send their kids to UMich, right? Because you're just going to have to pay extra to unprogram them from a bunch of indoctrination, garbage, and ideology junk taught there. So don't do that. Here's what we know. Here's what we know to recap the Social Security system at this particular stage. 1, it allows records to exist without a birth date on a system entirely dependent on birth dates. 2, it allows records to exist that have no death date on them, right? Even though the person's clearly dead. Crazy, right? Okay, 3, it allows massive numbers of Social Security numbers to exist within the system that actually exceed the total number of living Americans by about 61 million. What kind of system is that? And it doesn't tie to any other systems for checks and balances. It doesn't go over to census. It doesn't tie into other places, deaths. It's just its own little floating morass right there. Okay. Washington, D.C. has known about these massive issues for decades and decades, right? And has done nothing. Just done absolutely nothing. And the reason, of course, is easy enough to determine. They like it that way. When D.C. doesn't like something, they aggressively fix it. Remember that they proposed this $600 rule on Venmo? It's a threshold, and if you get more than $600 from Venmo, you're going to have a 1099-K form. And yeah, the IRS delayed that threshold to 2025, which is now. If they want to find out your $600, of course, D.C. passes a law instantly. But when it comes to fixing billions and billions and billions of dollars going out through gaping holes in a Social Security system, nothing. Now look, DOGE is uncovering more and more epic fraud and waste every day, more corruption. The possibility that important parts of our economy were entirely supported by waste and fraud is now an inescapable reality. Of course, that's true. But what happens when those money pipelines get shut off, right? Well, you need to be ready for almost anything at this point. Things are gonna get hairy. I can't see any other outcome at this point. Things are simply too corrupt to repair, so they have to first be dismantled, okay? And that's why in part 2 for my subscribers, we are going to be cutting over to this. Can this level of corruption be reversed? If not, what are the consequences going to be? We're going to talk about gold, exploding treasury market, not the right way. The government bond market, not the right way in Japan. And as well, the crazy response in Europe about what's going on. This is part of my scouting service, and I'm doing this for my subscribers. We'll go deeper, but I'm a little worried that we're not going to be able to dodge the bullet on this one. All right, with that, thanks very much for listening. We'll be back with you as soon as we can. And wow, things are going fast. Surf the avalanche, my good friends. And please be safe, be resilient. Until next time, I'm Chris Martenson of Peak Prosperity. Bye for now.